Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Richard Fairgray. We're here to break down Haunted Hill Volume 2 and everything in between. Richard, dude, holy shit. How are you doing? And how the hell do you just keep pumping out these books left and right, man?
I mean, what else do I do? Like, you know, I wake up in the morning, I make a comic, I go to bed, I get up the next day, I do the same thing. That's a lie. I don't really go to bed. Like, I bought a CPAP machine, so I'm trying to decrease my sleep again. But so I'm at 4 hours a day at the moment.
How do you function on 4 hours? That's
like you got it. Okay, so you use this. If you don't have sleep apnea, if you have sleep apnea, you need your sleep. I get it. But if you don't, you can buy a CPAP machine and then sleep on your back on the floor with your legs raised. CPAP machine turned up full. It takes a couple of months to get used to, and you just get like flooded with oxygen while you're sleeping, and you can get like a full night's sleep in a few hours, or at least like you feel refreshed enough from it. And if you can do that on kind of like a 5 to 6 day cycle and then sleep normally for one day.
Sleep normally. My man's over here biohacking his sleep pattern.
Well, you know, sleep is practice for death and bed is a prison. I've always said that.
So, man, holy crap. We had 4 colors like 2 months ago. We had The Ex-Wives of Frankenstein last month, and now Haunted Hill Volume 2. How do you not get burnt out? I mean, that has to be, I guess, the biggest question among like all of your peers, anyone who knows you. Like, how do you just keep creating? And it's always fresh. It's none of your work is ever stagnant. None of it always feels like you're breaking barriers. Like, I just reread Volume 1, and like your perspective views on some of these panels are just next level. Even like, how do you not like wear out?
I think I just don't like getting bored. Like, I think if I see a lot of people making comics that are like and this isn't like a diss on anyone, but like people making comics that they think are the kind of comics they should be making. And there is a really clear path for me of what I should have done with my career. Like, I should be focusing on my kids' books. I should be focusing on my YA stuff. And I look at it and I just think with every book, like, what have I never done before? What seems really hard to do? Where can I push this? Even when because I'm my own artist, so it's cool because I don't have to pay myself. Other artists deserve to be paid. Richard doesn't. That's not true. If people want to pay me, they can. When I write a script, I write it fast and then I start drawing it fast. I don't like to leave anything sitting around. I hate finding a script from 6 months ago and thinking, what the fuck was I feeling or thinking, or what was I intending here? And so I'll write, like with Haunted Hill, I write a 6-page sequence, and then I immediately do the layouts, and then like 3 hours into the whole process, I'm starting to draw already. But even from those layouts, it's less about what the page will look like and more about where the page has to start and end. And then I'm like, okay, that page is this unit of time. What happens in between it? And I sit there and I stare at my blank page and I go, how can I make that the most interesting possible? Or sometimes, what's the thing I want to draw the most? And I always say that, like, I could have a 33 panel page with like crazy weird overlapping shit and some gutters that bleed into each other and things that are mirrored and upside down and hand drawn, like whatever the fuck I can come up with. And it'll take me half the time that it would to do 4 panels of a person in close up, because I'm so bored by that 4 panel page that I would just like get distracted and play Tetris or whatever the kids do these days.
And I mean, some of your interiors, your creativity is just next level as well. I mean, I think it was issue 5 where they were playing, it was like the Pac-Man version, and they're in the game. And It was just such a unique way to go about doing it. I mean, using their heads as like the ghost and everything. It was, and the way you utilize color. I know we touched upon it before, but anyone like tuning in for the first time, this is mostly grayscale, darker palettes, but then there's just these splashes of like elaborate colors. Like, for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, can you kind of give us a breakdown of the symbolism behind that?
So I wanted this book to have like a really surrealist quality to it, and I wanted it to feel really grimy and dirty, because it's about Hollywood. It's about like life in the real grimy nastiness that is Hollywood as a place. My favorite place on earth, by the way. And I wanted the belief that people have that Hollywood can be magic to still be there. That was kind of key to me. When I describe my life to people, they say, "Oh, that sounds terrible," and I get upset because I'm like, "No, I'm trying to tell you about something that rules." The people in wizard costumes offering me money from behind dumpsters, etc. But the truth is, like, day to day, it's a fucking grind, right? But when I think about what it can be, that's the moment that feels like color. Dorothy goes to Oz, and the things change to color because it's a more magical place.
Mm-hmm.
I want the way people talk about Hollywood to be full color. And so throughout the story, you get these little pops whenever Eva tells a story, or whenever someone is like using a clumsy analogy. I will fully illustrate it in a really garish, over-the-top color because I want it to feel oversaturated. I want it to feel like actually the color is almost more disgusting than the reality, because it's the phoniness, right? It's that thing that oozes over all of us and makes us feel like we're living in a shiny world, but really it's just syrup. And so there's no hard and fast rules to it in terms of what gets to be in color and what gets to be what color and what doesn't. That's purely like aesthetic, like what's going to look good on that page. Let's go entirely pink, let's go entirely green, whatever. And then occasionally there'll be things like, if I use the Simpsons rules of, if a thing is defined by its color, it has to be that color. You cannot make your tree trunks blue. Like my tree trunks are black and white, or gray, but like if it's going to be in color. So like in that Pac-Man sequence, I think he's called Gobble Boy. When like you see them moving through the thing, and she's talking about how they used to shoplift from this convenience store, and so you see the little heads moving through as Pac-Man through the maze, which represents like the aisles of the store, and then it cuts into real life, and it's them actually running through a real store, and they're blue, and there's a huge fucking Gobble Boy monster like chasing through trying to eat them, as they're hiding from him and from the shopkeeper who's trying to catch them for stealing wine. And so obviously the Gobble Boy had to be yellow because no one would look. If I make a big circle with the mouth orange, it's not Pac-Man anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like little bits of logic like that, and then I try to just make it feel as visceral as possible. So I try and go bright.
So how does that scene in particular, like how does that like pop into your head? That is such a creative way to take the scene, like to put them, the story tell through the game, and then to bring the game into like a surrealistic approach into like that world.
With that one in particular, it was, it's this really uncomfortable moment where Eva is doing her usual thing. She's oversharing. She's trying to fill the silence because she's sitting with two guys who really fucking can't stand her at this point. And they're at this venue that used to be a grocery store, and she's sitting there on one of those like Pac-Man tables. And so she's distracting herself with as much as she possibly can. So she's playing Gobble Boy, she's talking, she's drinking, she's like fully engaged with every single thing around her so that she doesn't have to address the thing that's really going on, which is two men glaring at her for making their night uncomfortable. And so it was just kind of a logical progression of like, well, these are all the things she's focused on. Whatever she's saying is going to be a mix of all of them, even if the story doesn't literally match with it.
So, I mean, speaking of the story, we have Eva navigating life in Hollywood. It was supposed to be a 10-minute Uber ride that led into one hell of a night with her new friend, Sasha. This was such a weird pairing up. You have, a 35-year-old and then a group of 20-somethings. And the way you balance not only the cast of characters, but just where they're at in their life. Eva, she's going through the works, and like her humor and how she handles things at 35 is very different compared to to the 20-something year olds, and that's something I find to be true in just my life experience. I'm about 34, 35, and trying to talk to a 20-year-old, it's like it's such a confusing world. How did you balance the two? I mean, you did such a good job of like encapsulating those particular age groups. Like, how did you go about creating that?
I think a big part of it for me is that like you never really know how old someone is. I mean, you just said you're either 34 or 35. You don't even know how old you are. Like I'm 38. I'm currently the same age as Homer Simpson, which means the next year I will be older than Homer Simpson, which is really fucking confronting. I meet a lot of people. I'm bad at judging age, right? And so a lot of the people in Haunted Hill are based on real people that I know in and around Hollywood. And I wanted to play with that idea of like, what are people pretending to be versus what they really are? And it was really easy because with Eva, because she's 35, she believes that she should be behaving like an adult. Because this might be different person to person, but for me, 35 is the age I can remember my parents being. I remember being a kid, and that was what adults were. They were 35-year-olds. And when I started writing this book, I was 35, and I was like, I draw dinosaurs for a living. I'm not sure that I'm an adult like that, right? And so it was a lot of it was about that, like clinging to something. And like in the new book that's launched today, book 2 is the next morning, and Eva is going to go and fulfill her promise to Kevin from 25 years ago and finally show him her boobs. If you've read volume 1, you'll remember that is the deal they struck for going with Jill to Perfect Bounds. And she's been gone for 23 years. She's coming back. She goes to show him her boobs. She knocks on his door, and his kid answers. And she's standing there with her shirt up, yelling surprise. And then she does it again because the kid comes back to the door, and she thinks it's going to be Kevin a second time. It's just repeatedly showing a kid her tits. She is just fucking up every single moment. She's also interrupting that kid's grandfather's funeral.
Oh my God.
And this is the story of her finding out the shit that really went down when she left Haunted Hill as a kid. She thinks she was in boarding school. She was in fact in witness protection. The drugs they found at Kevin's dad's art gallery that was turning into a wig store, in fact, is what put Kevin's dad away in prison for the rest of his life. And now he is dead, and Kevin is at the funeral, and Eva is showing up. And it is about her unpacking like the guilt around that for a thing that she didn't really do wrong, and the anger that Kevin has had from not speaking to her for 23 years, and no spoilers, but finding out that actually that's not what Kevin is pissed off about at all. It's minor spoiler. There is a treehouse full of ghosts. So again, I'm playing really fast and loose with like adult emotions mixed with kid logic, because I don't think we ever really let go of that kid logic when we grow up. Mm-hmm. So throughout the story, it's like it's a lot of weird rambling moments of a Scott Stapp themed sushi restaurant, and a Kelso from That 70s Show themed grocery store, and just like difficult conversations about what it means to be an adult and what it means to not let go of shit from your past, but also like mob vengeance and a family who want to cut her up and feed her to pigs.
It doesn't sound like Eva gets a break at all in volume 2. How many issues are going to be collected in this book?
So this is issues 7 through 9.
Okay, and how many pages are you expecting it to be?
64.
So with Eva's journey, how is the story told? I remember you telling me there's like a time frame kind of to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the entire book, the entire series is set in the 11 days leading up to a key real life event, and I haven't really revealed what that is. There are some people who have noticed some clues and figured out what it is, but I'm seeing if I can tell a story entirely set within that time frame, and I'm trying to just keep the timeline as tight as possible. So that the first 6 issues are set across about 2 hours. This is the next morning, and we do actually jump to the following night by the end of it. So we have covered an entire day in 3 issues. And I say me. I'm trying to tell every single moment. I know that the next book literally only takes place after, like, in this, I think, 7 hours following this one, and there is a serial killer at a pizza at a 7-Eleven. There is a confrontation in a parking lot. There is a lengthy discussion by a pool about James Buffett. There is trying to acquire a free chair. There's eating pizza and masturbating. There's really everything, and just feeling bad about yourself for for when you're masturbating, when you're meant to be doing something with your life. And it takes us to early in the morning on the second day. I know that the issue right after that begins with, there's a joke in home movies where they say we need to cut some scenes. Mm-hmm. We can probably cut the scene where you're sleeping, and he says no, we need it to make sense of the scene where I wake up. And I know that that's like bad storytelling technically, but I always think if you can take something that's meant to be bad and make it good, then you're absolutely winning. Whenever anyone says you cannot do this, I'm like, what if I did it well though? Like, what if I'm the one who can solve that puzzle? So like I'm having issues where literally we start just like, oh, let's just follow a ghost through the sky and then have it reflected in Eva's drool as it drops onto her phone screen because she's fallen asleep in a chair. Fuck it, that's how we'll open the issue, and I can make it really fucking neat and show some weird background shit and have the ghost fly past a bunch of other shit going on so we can establish massive amounts of things going on in Haunted Hill that night. I don't know, like I don't have I have a plan for the ending, and I know that it's set across 11 days. I'm trying to see if I can beat the record and do a 312 issue comic series entirely on my own that is set within those 11 days. But there's a world where it ends up being 50 issues or 30, or maybe it ends up being 18. I don't know. All I can tell you is I know the purpose I'm getting toward.
We have J. Michael Miller, hot dogging this early. Absolutely. We have the issue cover for issue 7 up on the screen with the hot dogs and the mustard. Welcome, J. Michael Miller. Everyone watching, right there is the link to back this awesome book. We just went live literally about 18 minutes ago, so you got a chance to kind of get in while it's still hot. We're going to be pulling that campaign up here in just a few seconds. So, I mean, we left off issue 6. Eva, like, just swinging away with a baseball bat. Issue 7 starts up with her flashing some of her breast. What else adventures?
All of her breast. All both of them.
We got Chris Moses, haunted glizzy. We got the haunted glizzy gobbler. So what else can we expect for Eva in issue 7, 8, and 9?
So there is, I'm really fascinated by the things that we believe when we're kids, right? I've always said that Haunted Hill is the world where if you don't look down, you'll never fall. And so this is going into like, I want Eva to feel more tired with every issue. I'm trying to push that as far as I can because frankly, I'm more tired every day, even though I'm trying to avoid sleep and I think it's my enemy. I am more tired every day. And so this is like, you start to see the cracks show a little bit. Like last night, she's talking to all these people in her 20s and in their 20s, and she's so confident because she feels like she's further ahead than them. She's got a serious job as like a jizz mopper at a sex club. She has a home, even if it's a studio apartment in a shitty building that I used to live in. She has a wife who has it together, and she feels like she's making the right choices and she's doing well. She has a t-shirt that says butts on it. She's doing great. But the truth is, like, now she's in this issue, she's having to reconnect with people she hasn't spoken to for 2 decades who hate her for reasons she doesn't know. And like that is such a that will tip anyone over, because we all develop these narratives of like, if someone doesn't like us, we know why. Mm-hmm. One of the most unsettling things is when you don't. I actually had this happen to me this week. There is someone who I genuinely do not like. Like there's no hatred, there's no real anger. They're just like they're a bad person who I don't want in my life. And I don't know if they know this or not, but they certainly shouldn't have anything against me at all. I mean, they might not like me, but they shouldn't have anything against me. I found out this week that person has blocked me on all social media, and my first thought is, how dare they? Like I didn't do it.
Where did you get off?
I should get to block you, and I didn't because I'm an adult. So it's at that sort of like destabilizing feeling, and then it's Eva like finally having to say, I moved across the country 2 days ago. My stuff hasn't arrived yet. My wife got here a month ago, and she's fully set up and knows what she's doing, and I'm now here, sort of unemployed, stumbling around, finding out that my best friend from childhood hates me, that there's a mob hit out on me, that everything in my entire life has changed, and I can't even find a fucking cigarette lighter. Like, she has chosen the worst time to quit smoking, although she technically is never quitting smoking, because like every time she sees a cigarette, she will like find a way to get one for herself. Eva's incredibly good at transactional friendships.
So let's go ahead. I think right now would be the perfect time to pull up the campaign, check out all the tiers, and see what all the hype is about. We got J. Michael Miller. Have a good morning. Got to take the kid to school. I hope the ride to school is good for you. It's a beautiful day here. It's about 80 degrees. It was nice and cold the last couple of days. Ohio weather is always the best because it just can't make up its mind. All right, so let's get this party started. And I love this cover. What was the inspiration for this?
There is a line in the book where um, there's a certain place that has been locked that her friend has not been able to get into, and he's mad about it at somewhere that he hasn't been since he was a kid. And she says, "What was so important in there? Your VHS copy of Old Women Who Swallow? Spoiler, they always die when they get to the horse." Which is my grossest joke in the entire book, but I'm so fucking proud of it. And all the covers are, every cover in Haunted Hill is semi-literal, semi-thematic, like, and I'm trying to find this balance of like visually, like aesthetically appealing while also really off-putting. If you remember, like the donut being fisted or the cheese balls being squashed by a boot, you know, I'm really trying to find that balance. That's a beautiful horse. That's a beautiful mouth, but putting them together somehow is very upsetting.
So currently 157 of a $1,500 goal, 5 backers with 27 days left to go. I noticed a little bit shorter of a campaign for you. Are you gearing towards doing shorter and shorter campaigns, or is the 28 day mark kind of like the sweet spot for you?
I found with the last 3 campaigns, I always think like I'll end this at a specific time. I will have some very clear idea of when and why, whatever. And I will plan something for the last day. I'll do a big event. Everyone says make your campaign an event, and every single time I get to that last day, and I'm like, just make it end. Please let it be over.
Just end it already, please.
This one will end at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I will wake up. And look, realistically, 3 hours after I wake up, it'll end. But I think by that point, I won't have to spend an entire day checking it, and I'm really happy about that.
Okay.
I think, you know, I'll still get that second to last day of stress.
Mm-hmm. So, and it just went up to 207 with another backer while we were alive. That was awesome to see it just kind of shoot up like that. So this is collecting issues 7 through 9. With your first volume collected 6 issues. How, what was the reasoning for kind of going half that number?
It's just the story. The first, those first 6 issues are one complete unit of time. These next 3 really, there's a nice button on it. I care a lot more about like making the story work rather than putting 2 things together. I think, I talk about timing in comics all the time, but like the gap when you're turning a page matters to me. And so the gap between the end of one book and the beginning of another matters to me as well. You ever have that thing where you look at a page on a screen, you're like, man, I photographed that badly. There's like a watermark on it. See right there below the panel. These pages are all photographed under glass rather than scanned because I want to have the.
Are you talking like right here?
Yeah.
I almost, and that's the funny thing. I wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah, I know. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. But like one, printed, it'll just look cool and textured.
So the 1763, is there significance to that number?
It's my old ATM card PIN number.
I love it.
Yeah. And like I couldn't have said that, but I got mugged a couple of weeks ago, so now it's been changed.
Watch the person who mugs you is like watching the stream, be like, yeah, we got it. So, what's the significance with the shirts too? She was wearing one that said spit, now it's butts. Is it just, whatever kind of fits like a 4 to 5 letter word? I'm really fascinated by the idea of like t-shirts that look like they could be real. In volume 1, Junior is wearing a shirt that says Flair, but it looks like a Slayer shirt. I like that kind of world where we don't have to care about licensing, but we all fucking do it anyway. And I think that I would love to wear a shirt that just said butts. The original Spit shirt was, I had a friend who had a shirt that said spit causes death. But I was talking to them on Zoom all the time, and so I'd only ever see the word spit. And I was like, I want to have it's like years ago, I saw someone wearing a shirt that just said scream, choke, bleed, die. And that has appeared in so many of my books. And I love your sound effects too, the way they kind of just off to the side of the panel and like bleed into, the background.
Thank you. Yeah, I like, I like to play with, the comics are a form, and people always have these rules of like caption boxes are lazy, voiceover is cheating, or sound effects or whatever. Like everyone has some thought on what makes a comic more grown up, and I'm like, this is a fucking weird ass medium where we can play with all of it. Why would we take any tools out of our toolbox?
Absolutely. Now, speaking of toolbox, I mean, we have a interesting variant cover. What, 1,001 dildos?
Yep. Look, I broke the record last time with my dick cover. There's 17 dicks on my Not Safe for Work cover for volume 1, and this time I had to outdo it. And I was like, I want to give Eva a real moment of joy. And one of my favorite scenes in volume 1 is when Eva's playing on the trampoline and she's just carefree for a second before Keith shows up. And I wanted to capture that joy. And I was like, I remember that, like, the love of jumping into a ball pit. Why don't I just make it entirely dildos?
So did you count each one? Like 1,000's impressive, but 1,001, like, whew.
It's not literal. I just like thinking of it as like 1,001 is kind of an iconic number of whatever. And because it's a pit, it could be 3-dimensional. Who knows how many are in there? I counted about half the page, and it was sitting at about 490. And so I was like, yeah, fuck it, it's 1,001.
And I love all the different sizes, the different girths. Like, got a nice variety there. Cover B is just as impressive, though. I love, once again, you have that, like, the gray, darker palette going on, but all the ghosts are just that beautiful blue.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's me still doing everything physically. Like, the color on that is digital, but because I wanted the ghosts to be translucent, I had to draw that cover 3 times.
Your covers are always, with the last campaign, the way you physically made the cover and then, photocopied it and then digitally, did what you had to do. Is you put so much work and effort into these covers, and, that's why they stand out so much more compared to a lot of the other ones you typically would see.
Well, I think that, like, the bar is so much higher for indie comics. We cannot do a cover like Spider-Man. If you combine Spider-Man with a famous artist, you can draw a drawing of his face that looks photorealistic. It'll sell 50,000 copies. We don't have name recognition or brand recognition. We have to bring it with our fucking covers. It cannot be floating heads or people standing dynamically. It has to do more. Now, so this is my favorite reward.
Yeah, I love it.
For just $10 more, you get a certificate that guarantees I will never draw you into Haunted Hill.
And then we have the donut getting fingered right there. Perfect. Some more sample pages. Right here is, what I was talking about with the typical, art and coloring right here. And then those scenes where they just stick out so much with the colors. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really happy with this, like this weird metaphor of being an astronaut, finding out that her breathing tube hasn't been connected to the ship for so long, but wondering if she would have been fine if she'd just never known. I like it that none of Eva's analogies actually make sense. If your breathing tube is not connected to your spaceship, you're fucked. Sorry.
Yeah, but that it felt like you said that, I was like, dude, that feels like a deep level of thinking. Like, if you wouldn't have even noticed, would it have mattered at all? It's like, damn.
Yeah, well, it's Wile E. Coyote. If he doesn't look down, he doesn't fall. I don't know why he always stops and looks.
But this paneling is just beautiful. I love how, and it's like, that has to be such a nice benefit of being the writer and the artist. It's like, you can have these like really insane like ideas and bring them to life without having to worry about losing that losing it within translation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how I would describe that in a script.
Yeah. This is, and then like right here is just so gorgeous too. Holy crap.
And again, this is just me seeing like, what are the limitations of using markers? Can I make something that looks like this? Like, I think that is a 80% successful page. If I'd done that digitally, if I'd colored that digitally, it would have been a lot more like a grayer sky with more of the starscape being seen within it. But like, I don't want that perfection. I want Hollywood is a place where you see the cracks. It's a place where you see new buildings built on top of old ones. You see it's a Brechtian nightmare, and that's what I want to capture here. All of these pages are being re-photographed before I print them because there's so many wrinkles that have shown up with the original photography. But that was because I was doing it all in Canada, and now I'm back here where I have my proper equipment. And of course, all the add-ons.
Yep, all the add-ons. We have 4 Color Heroes at 25, Haunted Hill Volume 1 25, Octopus at 25, Too Hot for Octopus at 15, and then Ghost at 13, Horror Shorts at 10, and then some more of these lovely sample pages.
Yeah, I'm never gonna stiff people on how many sample pages I include.
So let's go ahead and check out some of these rewards while we are here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up these variant covers. Or no, actually I'll pull up this because this is a really gorgeous scene right here. So we have the digital book at $10, and you said this was how many pages again?
64.
Wow. So for just $10, you get 64 pages. And Richard's work is definitely worth it. It's next level. I love it. For $5 more, you can get volume 1 added on to volume 2. Get the early bird special at $22. The book after the early bird at $25. You can get cover B at $30. And then that dildo cover at $30 as well. So awesome prices on the variants. The book and the certificate at $35. What was the inspiration for this certificate? I love it. I love it, man. It's hilarious.
There's so many people are offering, like, for $300, you can be drawn into a panel of this comic, and I understand it. I think it's like it's a cool, fun thing to do. But I also know that every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that background character is more detailed than anyone else. They've got real main character. Oh, someone paid to be there. Okay. And I think, like, all my life, people have been saying to me, like, can you put me in a comic? Can you whatever? And Haunted Hill is kind of the ultimate version of this, where every single character in Haunted Hill is named after someone who I've met through a friend who asked to be in Haunted Hill, or who asked to be in a comic. She kept asking if I'd name a character after her, and so now I only name characters after people that she's introduced me to really highlight that I'm not putting her in anything.
That's hilarious. I love it. I love it. And then $45, so you can get both physical copies of volume 1 and 2. Outstanding price on that. The book and the art at $50. I have some of the art right here. Excuse me, from volume 1. And this is so gorgeous. I love it. I love this. Like the just seeing it like in real life and holding it is such an outstanding feeling.
I love the idea of, like, I want comic art to be cheap. I always say that, like, comic art is wonderful. I own a lot of it, not just my own. But it's something where people want that sense of validation. They want to talk about comic art as if one page of a comic is the same as an artwork. And I think the finished comic is the artwork. And so when people are talking about we should have comic art in galleries, I say, no, you can have some comic strips in galleries, maybe some covers, but, like, don't put a single page up there and pretend it's finished. Especially if it's uncolored. So if people want to own a piece of this art, I'm going to be selling some original art at cons and things later next year. But these are the pencils. This is the rawest, weirdest version of it. And for $50, you get the book and a page of the pencils. But because of everything I've just said, it is folded up and jammed inside the book for you.
You can get all 3 covers at $70. And then we have the Richard Sucks collection at $95. 250 plus pages and all the prints and stickers from previous campaigns as well.
It's 250 pages of digital, and then you get 192 plus it's about 350 pages of actual, like, physical content as well.
Wow.
Because it's 6 books there.
That is an outstanding price. And then that is it for you guys. So I mean, even at $95, you can get just more to read than you can probably read in a week or two. Get your whole entire winter month set with some Richard Sucks reading. So
plus you can get the great sticker, like, put your fingers in my hole donut sticker. It's great.
For everyone watching right here is a link. Be sure to check this out. Be sure to back. We would love to see it back, but most importantly, if you can't back, put it on Facebook or Twitter. Word of mouth costs you absolutely nothing, and letting your friends know is the easiest way to support a creator. So Richard, after going through that campaign, for anyone who might be on the fence about backing Haunted Hill, what would you like to say to them?
I would tell you that Kickstarter is a platform that allows people to do comics like nowhere else. And if you're on that platform, it's because you're looking for something that you're not going to find you're not going to find books like this from the big two. I've been doing this for 31 years at this point. I have 280. This is my 280th book. and it will be, as I say in the video, I've double checked to make sure it's very good. You're going to get a great book, and you're going to get a weird book, and it's going to take you on a journey. And I don't know. I at this point, I sort of feel like I shouldn't have to sell it. The work speaks for itself at this point. It's some weird ass shit, but it's very fucking good.
So, we always ask for a little bit of advice on the show. And I think, with someone who just keeps continuously pumping out work and good work, not just pumping out work, like quality work. For anyone who's maybe having a hard time getting into the flow, getting into the flow of creativity, what would be your piece of advice to kind of help them ignite that?
That's a tough question right now. I don't really know.
He's like, it's like breathing. It just happens for me.
Well, it's so okay, just between you and me. I've always wanted to have like have you ever seen that Ernest Borgnine clip where he's like in his 90s and I think it's a morning show. I want to say it's like Fox and Friends or some shit. And they say, "Oh, you look so good for your age. How do you do it?" And he leans in as if he's going to whisper, and he says incredibly loudly, "I masturbate a lot." I've always wanted to have a moment where I could pretend I was going to say something quietly and have it be that good, and I'm not going to do that right now. Although, look how young I am.
You do age well.
Okay, like as I mentioned to you before the thing, 4 weeks ago, someone hit me in the head, and I woke up 4 hours later, a mile away, having been robbed, covered in somebody else's shit in the bushes at a gas station. And I had just come from the airport. I had all my money from Baltimore Comic-Con. I had just got my work visa to be back in the US, and I was like, everything was kind of on top of the world, but everything was in my bag. And so now I'm stuck in LA, unable to get back to Canada, where I live most of the time, because I don't have a passport. And I have to reapply for all of my visas. And I lost all my money from that con. And there's sort of a sense right now of how many fucking times can I have everything lined up and have it taken away from me again? Because comics are an industry where that just fucking happens. And most of the time it's because you get screwed over by a publisher who holds the rights to something, or like there's some kind of trickery with what counts as in print versus digital, or there'll be some kind of like new technology that changes the game, and you'll like your old stuff is no longer yours because of it. And it's like, I can kind of weather all of that. And I feel right now like I was acting like an unstoppable force of nature with the amount of shit I was doing. And then the universe was like, how about an external threat then? How about we just hit you in the head by surprise? And so right now, I don't know the answer to that. I'm working every day, but it's hard to feel like I'm doing anything. It might just also be that I'm working on little things right now. I'm in between bigger books, but I'm hoping that the advice I give is, I'm hoping that this is true for me. Just keep doing it, and eventually your brain will kick back in and you'll feel normal again.
I read something online, how that is a big thing to like really like, in terms of like just psychology and shit, like tricking your mind into believing it. Like, even like, I recently just started going to the gym, and like just tricking your mind into just going. And then after a couple weeks, it becomes a habit, and then you want to go. Like you trick yourself into making it a habit. And even like with, it was another interesting quote. It's like the success you're looking for is in the work that you don't want to do. Like just getting up and just doing the work, just doing it, even on the days you don't want to do it, even the days you're tired. Those are the days, especially, you should be doing it.
See, what's difficult for me with that is that I actually do want to do the work. It's all of these are things I want to do, but it's the not knowing what the goal is anymore, other than to keep making stuff. I have a TV show now. Black Sand Beach. Well, Black Sand Beach has been picked up, like option for TV, and it's been picked up by a studio. And it's like none of this is. It's sort of public, I think. Like they fucking announced on LinkedIn, of all places. So I guess the news is out there. But yes, we have a 2-season pickup on Black Sand Beach, and I can't say where or anything else. But I'd always wanted a TV show, and then I got one, and nothing in my life changed. And I always wanted, I want to have 300 books by the time I'm 40. But then I'll just turn 40 and, who knows? I'm currently working on a fucking book of like portraits of Danny DeVito and journaling about masturbating to the penguin. Like, what I have reached a point in my life where I can literally do whatever I want. And that's partly because the things I want to do are draw Danny DeVito. I think if I wanted to do anything much bigger than that, it would be harder. But like, I'm getting to do every single thing I want, and it's like the thing I'm striving for next is a little less clear. It's just another comic. And that's what I'm talking about when I say like make every page interesting. Stop. That's my advice. Just every single time you have to pick up a pen, find the way to make it the hardest it can possibly be. Find the way to make it a challenge so that you'll always be striving to do that thing.
I love it. Some great advice. So outside of creating, what are you consuming? And I seen this funny thing about Danny DeVito. We got to wrap up, but I gotta bring it up. Where this girl used a cutout of him and took it to prom, and then he's seen that and then made a cutout of her and then took it on set of to It's Always Sunny. So I'm wondering what he's gonna do when he finds out there's a book of like portraits of him and masturbation.
I'm hoping he calls me and is like, listen, Richard, I've actually been having the same thoughts about you. Let's get together. I've still got that penguin
I got the costume.
I mean, I watch 12 minutes of TV a day while I'm eating breakfast. I'm consuming nothing. I just finished Good Girls. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I have old Simpsons playing in the background most of the time while I work. I got really angry the other day because someone wrote some stupid fucking article talking about how The Simpsons is better now because the characters aren't as cruel. And I was like, one, The Simpsons is not better now. Eat all of my butt.
Yeah, eat our
Two,
shorts.
Like, The Simpsons is like the cruelty was part of it. Like, it is impossible to buy that current Marge would be with Homer. It is a straight up abusive relationship because he is a monster and she is an unfleshed out character. America loves a woman to be perfect or dead on screen. The Simpsons in the past, when Marge was conniving and subtly dark and would keep Milhouse's teeth when they got knocked out at a hockey game and not tell him, like, that's the Marge that makes sense with Homer. That's the point where they, like, yes, she's put upon, but he's put upon. Like, yes, there's a balance there, and now it's just straight up, hey, what if husbands were shitty? And like, yeah, a lot of husbands are shitty, but like, I'm sorry, I can see that, it's the line from The Simpsons of
just go to Walmart and see that.
Well, Mr. Burns says, I don't like being outside. For one thing, there are too many fat children. Like, it feels like that if I'm watching television, I want to see things that are heightened or different than what I'm seeing in the real world. And I can see shitty relationships everywhere.
I remember, what was this episode? It's like, Mr. Burns and Smithers were on his boat, and he's like, Smithers, he's like, splash them, and they're on the boat, and they like drift the boat and splash like these people on the dock. I'm like, dude, that's like Simpsons to a T. I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's doing something huge to be really petty, and they're cartoons, so it doesn't matter. And I think, like, so I'm rewatching Simpsons. I'm just coming to the end of season 10, and I think it's gonna, all be downhill from here. I know that the finale of season 11 fucking honks, but until I get to that, I'm gonna be getting through some garbage, and then I think I will stop. So I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know what I'm consuming. I have a giant ass pile of comics that I've bought on Kickstarter over the past year that I still need to get to, and I don't know if I ever had time. Look, once I hit that 300 books by 40, then maybe I'll take like a week off and just read everything.
Oh my god! A week off for you, you'll come back a brand new person.
Oh fuck! I would die. I can't do it. Like, I took a half day last year and I lost my goddamn mind. And like, by the way, in that half day, I took like in the time off, I went for lunch at a place and had like a work meeting on the phone while I was at lunch, and then I went and got a massage. And while I was getting the massage, I was writing underneath the table. Like that's my version. And even then, I was like, now this is too much. I need to be like, get me to my fucking desk, get me my pen in my hand, sign me up for another stupid project.
So it is time for us to wrap up. Currently at 269 with 8 backers. So everyone that backed during the show, thank you very much. Make sure to spread the word. Right here is a link just to share. But feel free to get in on that early bird special and save a couple bucks while you still can. I hope you all have a lovely Tuesday, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.